up to speed, up to speed, up to speed.
Live from the apocalypse. Don't name your kid after a celebrity because you never know what that motherfucker's been doing. This is state of the game. We give good advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
In the 90s, they would have been like, oh, I'm going to name him, Kevin Space. No. Never know, man. You never know. So my name is Dano. Eloquent? Yes, of course. But a lot of people say that I'm loud. I'm not. My voice is prominent. That's how we're framing it now. My voice is prominent.
I like that.
It's my perfect gentleman here. So I'm here, and my co-host, the thing that he shares most with Fred Williams is metaphors about women's butts being like bread. He does that a lot. So shout out to you. Thank you for being here.
Oh gosh.
This is a segment we like to call album gifts, okay? And can I tell you how I came to this?
Okay.
Because I'm selfish. So all the creation starts from a place of selfishness, right? What we do here is about me and you and everyone else after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, there's so much shit. We don't have a guest. There's so much shit I want to just show Keith. I want to just show my guy and talk to him about it, the same way we would before we had this shit, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, this is what we'll do is we'll give each other that homework and we'll share it with everybody, but it really just comes from what we want to do together. And then goes from there. So and this is not like albums I know you didn't listen to, right? Because I don't know you, bro. I'm not gonna assume. You know what I mean? I remember the first time I got in a tall black dude's car and he put on Nirvana in Utero.
Yeah.
And I looked at him.
Oh, great album.
I looked at him surprised. He's like, yo, you didn't think because I was black. And I was like, oh shit. Never gonna happen again. So I don't make presumptions of people know and don't know. So this is about what I've talked to you about, right? And I've never talked to you about PJ Harvey's Dry, which I brought to the table. And you've never talked to me about
Pharrell and the Yessirs Out of My Mind. That's the gift I gave you.
Yeah, man. And so that's what we're doing today, and I'm excited about it. Had you heard my album that I
No.
Okay.
No.
I was so relieved. We'll get it. Which one should we talk about first?
We can talk about Pharrell and the Yessirs first.
Let's do Pharrell and the Yessirs first. I was very relieved because I was like, you got to start with In My Mind to know, right? So I really hadn't studied In My Mind. In 07, I wasn't glued to Pharrell's solo projects,
Right.
And I'll tell you, I did come away from the experience of all of this really thinking that we don't talk about Pharrell's artistic legacy enough outside of production.
Okay, so the things he does outside of music, you mean?
No, outside of just producing music. Yeah.
Okay.
So like.
Oh, okay, right.
Nerd and the solo stuff. Like I listened to In My Mind, Out My Mind, and came away like, ooh, I would love to ask Childish Gambino about this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of Childish Gambino in the flavors of what's going on, right?
Yeah, and Tyler the Creator said that In My Mind was a big influence on him as well. Yes, you can definitely see drips of that in today's modern rapper.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like the Ty Dolla Sign mix of, or the future mix of rap and singing and all that. You can see all that. So I listened to it in my mind and I was like, uh, again, there was something weird about it. It didn't
Mhm.
hit for me.
Right.
Um, Best Friend is a really bracing song about
Mm.
the death of his grandmother and how that affects his life. But then there's all these take it off, lock the door, kind of stuff songs,
Right.
and they're weird and it's a very disjointed album.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a lot of I just had sex and in ways that are because listening to thousands of hours of hip hop, K, I can kind of hear when you're telling me you've had sex, but you're not happy. In my mind, does not sound like a happy album.
Fascinating. Okay.
Do you want me to give you my Will Smith application here?
Yeah, yeah. Let's hear this.
So, and this is just in my mind. Out my mind, I have lots of different thoughts on.
Yeah.
The whole different set of theories. But
Yeah.
in my mind, the Will Smith end of this, I don't watch full Drink Champs episodes. I've got a life to lead, right? Um, but I saw clips from the Will Smith Drink Champs, you know,
Hmm.
and there was a really good short available called Cliff Top. Look up Will Smith Cliff Top.
Okay.
What he says is everybody talks about rock bottom and hitting rock bottom, and then the change you have to make once you hit rock bottom, right?
Right.
He says there's a corresponding end of success that he refers to as cliff top.
Mm.
Crediting Will Smith for this. This is not my good thinking here. He says basically you can become so successful that you get to the end of the material world. You get to the end of the sexual world, the fame world. There's like you can get more or whatever, but we've already talked about it, right? The difference between having 1.2 billion and 1.4 billion is just not
Right. Minuscule.
that's not the goal to reach for, right? Like the the first 200,000 is a lot crazier, right?
Mm.
Than the difference between 1.2 and 1.4, right?
Right.
So I think that's what he's talking about with the end of the material world, right? You get to the point where you're like, I can literally have everything, anything I want, anything I can,
Right.
you know,
Which makes you not want anything at all.
bang.
Mm.
And so it all starts to feel empty. You lose your happiness, you lose your drive, right?
Hmm.
Or you go so far into those accesses that it's basically the same as hitting rock bottom, you know,
Wow.
cliff top, rock bottom. He said, very beautiful clip. He said, the only way out of it is to get back to you, find what makes you happy, and go to go to where you want to be, right? And
Wow.
reclaim kind of yourself. So all this is to say, in my mind, by Pharrell is a cliff top album.
See, when you put it like that, and based on what I know about Out of My Mind and like the story behind that, what you're saying makes sense to me. I would agree with you.
And anybody and the Lego movie is part of the texture for me. I've seen the
Yeah.
uh, Pharrell Williams Lego movie. It was very good. I'm Not a lot of people don't like it. I don't understand it. I
I mean, I
love
thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I was very moved by it. Just in the sense that the weirdo colors, the noises, kind of taking over the landscapes, right?
Right.
Like that's really a good simulation of how my creative mind worked,
Right.
right? Like like what I was trying to figure out about my work took over everything, you know? And when it was fully realized, it was it was like nothing I could describe, you know?
Oh, hmm.
And that's kind he does that, you know? Um, and it shows how his vision kind of flows into the world and changes it. But
Absolutely.
there's a big point where is it which is the song with is it Frontin' with Jay?
Yes.
And that hits as a single,
Yes.
and he kind of sits on it, and he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be a solo person, yada yada.
Right. Right.
There's elements of that on in my mind, right? Like it's the most excited you hear him on these songs is when he's with somebody else,
Yeah.
right? When he's with Slim Thug on Keep It Player, he's excited, right? When he's with, Push on Stay With Me, he's excited, right?
Yeah.
Kanye on number one, like
Nelly.
Nelly, yeah, Baby, and I mean Snoop on That Girl, Snoop and Charlie Wilson.
Yeah.
Like he loves collaboration. He is a sponge and a supercomputer, right?
Yes.
But on his own, he doesn't get sparked like that. I so
You know, and that would kind of tie into the, like, going based on the Lego movie. That kind of ties into his and Chad's relationship as well. You know, like he's someone who tends to bounce. You're right. He likes to bounce ideas off people.
think
Uh,
think of how many rap producers we've talked to who are just solitary engines, bro.
right.
Right? Like I crank out beats at my house, I put them in the folder, keep cranking out beats,
Right.
you know? Um Pharrell's not like that.
No. No. And that's not to say he's worse than those types of rappers. I think there's pros and cons to both approaches. Uh, regarding how you create music.
Right. Right. Definitely pros and cons. Definitely pros and cons. I'm totally with you on it. But it's a weird, lonely feeling album, a cliff top feeling album.
Mm.
Um, I really, yeah, it was. And the other question is, what is going on? Like, how do we feel about Pharrell as a soloist? Like in terms of be singing and rapping and carrying a whole project himself.
Singing and rapping and caring in terms of not singing, but oh, okay. Um,
As the talent, right? The vocal talent for an entire album. Not the hook, right? Like the guy.
is the question? Do I think what do I think about it?
Yeah. What do you think about like is he what it first of all like what is his legacy as like a rapper? Uh he because Pharrell has a different style of rap. Like
Yes.
he's not Dr. Dre. He's not just doing whoever wrote his lyrics, right? He spits, right? He does spit and he does his stuff. But it's interesting. Yeah, it's
You know,
interesting.
I think he really opened the door for that, for me, like skateboard rap, I guess you could say.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that alternative rap, not not alternative rap, but like alternative culture rap.
Okay.
I think he really opened the door for someone, like it's like you say about Prince, about how there's some artists that come before other artists that help us understand them a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah.
like, or make them more like, because Prince came along, we can understand D'Angelo better,
Yep,
and
yep.
I think for me, like when I look at like Kid Cudi,
Mm.
when I look at Tyler the Creator, for me, like Pharrell was he was like the Prince to those guys in terms of style wise for me.
No, a big style influence. And what do you think? What is his best rapped song on here? Do you think?
Ooh, um, that's the thing. Like rap wise, I think what's the song? Show You How to Hustle
Oh, it's a
is
good one.
my favorite rap wise, but my favorite songs are the ones where he's singing.
Yeah. He does. My favorite rap performance is "How Does It Feel."
Yeah. Okay. The opener. Yeah.
It's the second song in, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Wait,
think
that's
the
or
opener
how
is
does it feel?
Can I have it like that with the
Okay. All right.
yeah,
Now I'm getting it. Yeah.
Ronnie. The second song, how does it feel? Um, yeah. Did you disappear behind your background? What's where you at?
No, no, no. I'm just waving my.
All right. So I was like, so how does it feel? He hits a flow that is genuinely spellbinding. Like, wow, this is dope. You
Yeah.
know? I did leave in my mind feeling that the landscape of lyricism was just too vapid to make this an album that I would love coming back to.
Hmm. Okay.
There just isn't enough best friend on there.
Right.
There isn't enough like um and maybe it's that thing that we talked to Andrew about like last week a couple weeks ago of like putting your heart in every song,
Hmm.
giving you genuinely human moment. Like he's a lot of times he's just bouncing it off. Sometimes you're hearing him do his own Jay-Z thing,
Right.
you know? It just doesn't. I think there was one moment, I can't remember which song it was, but he started talking about how it was surprising that like he was getting fulfilled by driving back to the projects.
Mm.
And he was like picking up a woman and she was, filleting him and he was reminiscing or something. Um, but that was a big, interesting clifftop moment of like, oh, this is, you like he's at the end of the material world.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that because he does. If you look at Pharrell's discography after In My Mind,
Yep, yep.
there's a definite shift, and he said this before. There is a definite shift in his content, and I
Oh,
I
okay.
think even the Lego Movie kind of alluded to it. Like you said, I think this was the album where he got In My Mind, and I'm gonna yeah to the cliff top. Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, it felt like a clifftop album, and we've all had that. Like we've all seen that. Like what is I'm trying to think. Is Jay's clifftop album Volume 3?
Mm.
I love like I know people like have turned on it a little bit. I love Big Pimpin' so much because it's such a paranoid song. If you read the lyrics to Big Pimpin', it's it's so paranoid, it's so distrustful. It's
Yeah.
it's a Jay-Z that can't last.
I'm gonna say that's interesting. I would have thought Kingdom Come
Oh, Kingdom Come I could okay.
because we after Kingdom Come there was a definite shift for
Yep.
me because
Yep.
after Kingdom Come was American Gangster, right?
That's right. Where he got
And
back.
then
Okay,
was
yeah.
444 after American Gangster? Was there made no 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 what's that? Magna Carta.
Yeah.
Mm,
His Cliff Top was like, I released my retirement album, but what am I going to do now? I'm
yeah.
back. Right? Like that it was it's like, hey, but what? Huh? Um yeah, it makes sense. But the Cliff Top conversation is interesting. Shout out to Will Smith for doing that.
Yeah.
Putting that out there. So yeah, out out my mind
Hmm.
is the difference. It's a remix album
Yeah.
in my mind, and it's not really an album. It's a mixtape, right? It was a mixtape when it came out. It was
You
on
know
two.
how it came out? So it's interesting. He, I think Questlove,
Yeah.
this was '07. So this was during the era of MySpace.
Yep. An OK Player, maybe was it or before? Was it before OK Player?
No, it was before OK Player was existent, but Questlove had a MySpace. And I remember I went on the MySpace one night and he had a remix of the first song, the Gwen Stefani song have.
Yep.
The
Yep.
Can I Have It Like That?
Yep.
And what he would do is he would release one of the remix songs every week or 2 weeks. So it was kind of like a slow drip. But essentially what he was saying was that the story behind it was that Pharrell called him up one night at like 3 a.m. in the morning and was like, "Yo, I don't like how that In My Mind came out. I don't feel like it fully communicated what I wanted what to express. Will you take a look at it, remix it, and help me out?"
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And because like so to build on that, because I had thoughts like that, right? Listening to In My Mind versus Out My Mind. So this could go into what does Out My Mind do that In My Mind doesn't do, right? To
Mhm.
me, Pharrell is Pharrell is one of my five best producers in the history of rap, right?
For sure. Yep.
On my mountaintop with that stuff. But everybody has strengths and weaknesses, opportunities.
Hmm.
The issue with Pharrell at his most dated, at his most played out, was that because he didn't do samples, because he didn't do, the heavy orchestration,
Hmm.
it was synthetic, it was the keyboard sounds.
Hmm.
So it could feel very dry and robotic and synthetic. And over the course of an album like In My Mind, it could really just drift off and not touch you. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So adding Questlove makes a lot of sense because those live drums change the nature of what we're doing here.
Yeah. So it was Questlove, and then there was one more other
Rob
producer.
Poisner was it Rob
Yes.
Poisner who did the some of the like reshaping of the arrangements.
Yes. Well, he was on Voodoo.
Yep.
I mean, he did worked with Erica Badu. He worked with
Yeah.
D'Angelo. So this was someone who has their roots in the neo soul type of lane of
I,
music.
I think if you want to hear like what do you mean? How is this so different? Listen to the original Baby with Nelly versus the Baby on
Yeah.
Out My Mind
Yeah.
with the guitar solo that they add in. That's just incredible. Like it's okay. It's a lot better. It's like twice as good.
100%.
It's ridiculous how much better it is than the studio album.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
I mean, the human touch. I think it was really because guys like Questlove and Mike, they add that human element to it and that human interpretation
Yep.
of the music.
It got me thinking, Kay. I'm just running through
Go ahead.
my out my mind narratives because I went to Twitter with this, right? A couple days ago, got everybody involved. It was great. Um, but The album got me thinking about what would a Roots album produced by the Neptunes have been like.
Hmm.
Would it have worked? Different people had different thoughts, right? Because Questlove doesn't like to cede control to anyone.
Hmm.
I was jokingly referring to him as a nerd tyrant. Um, but if it's Pharrell, it might be a different story. You know, if it was Chad, it might be a different story. You know,
Right. He's
so
got to respect the person that he's ceding control to.
got to trust him. You know,
Right.
Iverson didn't pass the ball because he thought those guys were not good, not good. You had to prove yourself to get the ball.
Yeah.
So hopefully, those guys had proved themselves by that point.
Right.
Um, and so, man, but because let me see why I was getting all worked up about that possibility. The production that Questlove provides is it would be best described as like organic,
Hmm.
you know, Whole Foods style production, right? That's why it made sense for him to produce Lay It Down with Al Green, right?
Hmm.
That's why it made sense for him to be involved, in the Soulquarians and my favorite Erica Badu album, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but it made sense because he brought a holistic, organic feel, right?
A- Absolutely. And
You,
and I think
go ahead.
he showed when you do things like electronically, there's a limit to it. You know what I mean? Like there's a limit to it as opposed to playing with live instruments where you can go with the human spirit as opposed to programming
Yep.
in a machine.
Now, and we talked about strengths, opportunities, all that, right?
Yeah.
For the production of Questlove, it's so organic, it's so holistic, it's so Criterion Collection
Yeah.
that it can get boring.
See, and that's but for me that's the exciting thing about this collaboration because I think at the basis we got to remember at the basis of out of my mind is in my mind, which tells me like Pharrell's ideas are still the basis of out of my mind. It's just Pharrell's ideas interpreted by Questlove and Mike's technique and their musicality. So for me, like out of my mind is the it's like the best of both worlds, like those Pharrell's ideas and his sensibilities through the lens of literally professional musicians.
Yup, yup. No, it's you're right. So that's what makes this so awesome
Hmm.
is you get a situation where the kinetic energy of Pharrell, the crackling, like unignorable like pulse of his excitement for new ideas. You still
Yeah,
get you still get
yeah,
that. You get surprised, you get excited, but you also get the kind of organic movement of natural music.
yes,
So it's a human experience, right? So you don't have to it's not it never gets into junk food stuff, right?
no,
But it's never like the boring, tasteless organic stuff. It gets that middle.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's what makes this a real necessary listen.
for
Out of my
sure. And I mean, I think the two are. I mean, it's really you have to listen to the two together to
yeah.
get the full effect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, so the other narrative, right? So
Okay.
going through the narratives. Out my mind, if you listen to in my mind, then you listen to out my mind.
Hmm.
You understand why the blog era ended. People are like, "Oh man, why did they kill the mixtape era? Why did they kill the blog era?" And this whole study forced me to come to grips with the truth.
Oh, okay.
What I was thinking about was imagine yourself. This was back to '07. This was the old days. We had record labels, A&R people who got
Mhm,
paid to A&R music.
mhm,
So you're the A&R. You just got out in my mind out.
mhm.
And now you're going on, you're looking at Dat Piff, you're looking at Two Dope Boys, and boom, there's Out My Mind, Questlove, Rob Poisner, 21 tracks versus the 15, right?
No,
Cream
but they
Soda.
didn't. But here's the thing: like I said, it was a drip. They didn't release the full project because because from what I understand, like they were working on it in like a continuous fashion. So
Okay.
they would remix a song, release it, and then if they had another song in the chamber, they'd release that. But they were working on it for a series of months,
Okay. Okay.
and then a year later, it was finally released. But
That's what I'm saying. A year later, you're looking at
yeah,
an album that sounds better than the album that you put all the work in to sell it.
hmm,
Oh, and that was
okay,
free. But
mm.
sounds better and is free. You know,
Wow,
that's I was like, oh, that's as a business, this couldn't have continued. This is crazy. You know,
you're right. I think
it would be like going into it, like you go into Popeyes and you get a lemonade, and they're just like, oh, you want a two piece? It's free. Comes with the lemonade. You know,
you're right, and I think there's also like a control element in there as well because like an album like out of my mind, if you were going through the major label channels, you would first of all you'd have to get approval. Like, okay, hey, can my artist work with your artist? How are we gonna do these splits? What's gonna be the marketing plan? Like, how are we gonna promote? There'd be so much involved in a production of that scale as where you go to the underground and there's pretty much no friction whatsoever.
right, right. Or you go independent. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's and that 3 a.m. conversation between Pharrell and Questlove proves my point.
Hmm.
Right, like, hey, this didn't come out how I wanted. Obviously, a lot of that is probably politics, right? That prevented that from sounding how you wanted. I want to do something else with it, right? You take it, you work on it, blah blah blah.
Right.
Back in the day, you wouldn't have gotten to do that. You released the album, it is what it is.
Mm.
Try next time. You're trapped on the label.
Mm.
This is more of that proof that that people weren't really trapped anymore effectively. You couldn't trap them the way you used to, right? They could
Mm.
behind the door, you know, make a remix album, make it better
Right.
than the album, and just
Right. Right.
they could
And they released this like they sold in my mind. Out of my mind was not. They never. I as far as I can recall was never released commercially.
right, right. They could do the album you wanted them to do, right? The
Hmm.
one with Neo on it, right? The one with Akon. This is 2007, right?
Right.
Yeah, they could do all that and then drop it and then do their own mixtape that sounds how they want.
Mm.
Drop that. The beats their friends made them that they like better.
Right.
And then they are competing with their project, but they're really competing with your project.
Well, they're treating their main label album as a mixtape for the real project that they want to do.
Yep.
Hmm. It's a fascinating angle.
So that's Out My Mind really reminded me of that. I'm like, oh shit, this was an era where the remix album was like better than the album.
Mhm.
And how insane is that? Like, how crazy is that? You know?
You know, it's fascinating because like a lot of the song, particularly in that era, like I think of I mean, a lot of the songs that I liked were remixes. You know what I mean? Like unofficial remix. That's how, or how should I say it? I the way I was introduced to songs was through the remixes.
Yeah.
So I never heard the original song, but you heard the remix, and that's how you got into the. If you wanted to go back to the original song, that's how you would go back into the original song.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. The it's interesting, dude. It's interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
I really I did enjoy it a lot. Um, it still has flaws, right? I still think it's vapid lyrically. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't have much use for like creamsicle. And what is there's a couple of which is the we'll try and find the Humpy Run.
you know, for me, I think it was. I mean, I just love the production, and I think Pharrell would agree with you. I think he would like he said multiple times it felt vapid to him, and you could see after in my mind his the lyrics became a little bit
I'm with you. I'm with you.
more more positive, more conscious than it was beforehand. So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say. So in my mind, it's definitely a turning point for Pharrell.
That's a very good point. Very good point. I was trying to think of the because they're the let me see here. The last Nerd album, No One Ever Really Dies,
Okay.
2017, 10 years after the release of In My Mind.
Mm-hmm.
I people don't love that album. I love this album. I love it's one of my favorites um that they ever released. And every song on it is something.
Every song on it. What do you mean by that?
Every song on it. Don't do it. Uh, don't
Okay.
don't do it is about police brutality with Kendrick Lamar. Um, there's Lightning Fire Magic Prayer.
Yeah.
There's ESP. Uh, Deep Down Body Thrust. It basically the songs are very meaningful, or they're
Yes.
very strange and mystic and out there, right? Um, and it that album's awesome. That album's fucking great because it's really weird, really cool, you know? Um, and and he's really pushing and he's really doing stuff. So I think you're right. I think that makes sense. My least favorite run on Out My Mind or In My Mind, either way.
Okay.
10, 11, 12. Young Girl with Jay-Z has not aged well. Um, 11, I really like you, girl. Oof.
Oh, I love that. That
And then Take It Off. Like that run is rough on me.
I love. See, I'm not a particular fan of Young Girl. Uh, but I love what's this the second part? I really like you, girl. I really like you, girl.
Yep,
Take
yep.
it off. Stay with me. Like for me, like take it off was like when you hear the in my mind version of take it off and then you hear the out of my mind version.
It's way better.
Yeah, yeah, the lyrics are a little bit cringy, sure, but you know the movement, the sensuality that Questlove and Mike
Yep.
were able to get out of the song was phenomenal to me.
Yep. Rob
And
Push.
then Stay With Me with Pharrell, like I'm sorry, with Pusha T,
Oh man.
gorgeous, gorgeous arrangements.
I'm glad you brought that up. Like the two most interesting guests here to me are Pusha T and Snoop.
Phenomenal.
Like, and it's fascinating because with Push, like Push has talked about it. He said Pharrell taught them that just because you're saying hard shit doesn't mean it has to sound like a hard ass song. It doesn't have to be chocolate on chocolate, right?
Right.
So it's a very kind of radio friendly, you know, song, Dim the Lights, about relationships.
Them lights, yeah.
Push, searing verse, incredible verse.
Phenomenal. I think that's one of his best guest verses. One of my personal favorites for his guest verses ever.
It's where he's like, it doesn't matter if it's a verse, if it's a song for the ladies, or if it's for the clubs. I'm gonna kill it wherever it is, you know?
Well, it because I think of when I think of Pusha, like I think of for my favorite guest verses from him. I think of this, and then I think of the Runaway guest verse. And Pusha's phenomenal at like, how did I say this? He's able to travel. He's able to push two agendas that you would think would be opposing each other at the same time.
Yeah.
Like this is like for Dim the Lights. I mean, for Pusha, it's a relatively romantic verse, but at the same time, there's a lot of
Hostility. There's a lot of hostility in that.
yes,
Yeah.
and he's able to travel both roads at the same time, which is, I mean, is for me, it's a brilliant, brilliant guest verse.
Yeah. No, it's magnificent, man. I think it's
What's up, man?
it's rolling. But yeah, so it's I don't know, man. It's an interesting one because Pharrell was in Push's life, in his ear,
Hmm.
pushing him for versatility at a point where he could have just been sharpening his sword on what he did.
Yeah,
Right. So that is that's the difference between somebody like Push and somebody like Benny the Butcher.
ooh,
Benny the Butcher didn't have someone there pushing for versatility. He had people there being like, "You're killing him, man. Kill another beat." You know what I mean?
right.
Kill another beat. And so he built this style, but he never built the branches off the tree.
He never added there. Like there's a very human element to Pusha, which you're right. He's developed over the years and sharpened.
Yeah, he's someone who, while he's a hard ass rapper,
Yeah,
he can still fit in any container.
yeah, and I think for Pusha, like his verses are very like they go just beyond like surface. I think some of his verses are like observations on human nature, observations
Yep.
on relationship dynamics,
Yep.
observations on materialism and how that's used to like uh, control people's behavior and dictate what they do.
Mhm. Yeah, the Palm Olive uh verse or whatever with Freddie Gibbs. Yeah,
Mm.
that's incredible. Um, so so the other thing is Snoop, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I really, if they make a movie of Snoop's life, Pharrell's got to be a big part of it, right? Because
That's coming 2027. I'm sure they'll have a Snoop movie.
27, Snoop, uh, he has spent his early career being like, you know, these hoes ain't shit, fuck these bitches, right? Like, I
Hmm.
don't trust him. And it had gained him a reputation, gained him notoriety, but it really hadn't given him a female fan base. He couldn't make love songs. So when he came to Pharrell, that was his mission. Like, I need to be able to make not just love songs, but happy songs. Because I'm happy sometimes. And I've boxed myself into this gangster thing that I can't get out of.
Hmm.
I want to make happy songs. I want to make songs you can play on the beach. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, and so that's where you get beautiful, right? That's where you
Right.
get that girl, right? Like, so, and it created an entire leg of Snoop's career um, that kept him going. It was a missing piece. And credit, yes, a lot of credit should go to Pharrell for being able to provide the vision and the backdrop. A lot
Hmm.
of credit needs to go to Snoop for isolating what he was missing and going to the right person. It's not easy as a
Well,
creative.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you saw like you saw the Lego movie, like Drop It Like It's Hot. That I mean, Snoop, I think was a household name
Of course.
already for sure. But that like songs like that and Beautiful, like those two songs in particular, elevated him to a whole nother level, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Before before any of those songs, he was one of the most recognizable rappers on the planet.
Yes.
The problem was continued vitality, right? And he had to be able to provide the dimension that he was missing,
Yep.
but in a way that felt like him. And to be able to be one of the most important rappers on the planet, but still go to somebody and say, "I'm missing this,
Hmm.
and I need it from you. I need you to help me get there."
Hmm.
Uh, that's that's awesome. So
Yeah.
Charlie Wilson fits so well. Charlie Wilson's awesome.
Oh, for 100%. Beautiful, like just a beautiful feature from him as well.
Yeah, this was a hell of a missing piece of this period of time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and it really did get me thinking about other stuff, plugging holes. Why did this come to your mind right off?
I mean, I just thought it was overlooked. I mean, this album, I remember, in '07, like literally, I was going to Questlove's MySpace every day looking to see if he had released a song. And I was able to rip each song individually. So for like a couple of years, maybe like a decade or so, I only had the ripped version of the album until they released like the high def version. But
OG,
uh,
OG shit.
yeah, for me, it was just I just think it's such a unique album, and like I said, it's the best of both worlds coming together in terms of Questlove and Pharrell and their sensibilities.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's cool. Do you want so we should talk about my pick then.
yeah, go ahead.
So I wanted to give you PJ Harvey's Dry debut.
Mm.
How old were you when this came out? 1992.
5 years old.
Oh, so and it well, so let's start. I want to start it with a different discussion. Um, people say goat all the time. Honestly, I get called goat sometimes. It's weird. Uh, I don't like it. I don't like the term. I know LL Cool J originated it and deserved to, right? He's been around for a million years.
For sure.
This thing, but I don't like the overuse of it now. And this album to me is a great example of why. Right?
Okay.
There was never a point in the 90s or 2000s when PJ Harvey was considered the GOAT.
Yeah, I'd never heard of her before this album.
She's an incredibly important part of the 90s.
Hmm.
She was never the GOAT. But when I was 12 when this album came out, right? Like
Hmm.
So I didn't hear it when it probably came out, but when I first heard it, it was like being pulled into another dimension of music.
Mm.
It was so different from everything that was out that it was incredible. So the
See,
go
hmm
she was never she was never arm wrestling with Nirvana and Pearl Jam for the grunge goat, right? She was she was going so far in her own direction that there was nothing on the planet like what she was doing.
fascinating. See, like it's fascinating to me. Like we both got to the like you heard. Did you hear the album in '92?
I don't think so. I don't think
So
so, but
you were so nine like 94,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
95 ish.
Yep,
So I heard it for the first time in 2025. So like 20 years later. So the context is that we listen to these albums in is vastly different.
yep,
Uh, like so I'm hearing it under a completely different context, musical context, in terms of like I've heard the artists that have come after her.
yep, yep,
I've heard the art like I have a more broader concept of it than you had living in it during the time.
yep, yep. There's a really dope uh there's a really dope live clip you can find.
Mm-hmm.
PJ Harvey doing I Can't Get No Satisfaction with Bjork.
Oh wow.
Um, they were like they were comped together, like because they were so out there that everybody was like, "What is this?" Like,
Mm.
they were just fearless, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's a few reasons I wanted you to listen to Drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, specifically, like because it's so itself, like and it's so 90s, right? In the 90s, it wasn't even cool to try and be the biggest band in the world. What you wanted to do was be like just the most unreplicatable. You know what I mean? You wanted to be singular,
Right.
you know? Like in journals, Kurt Cobain put this as his like number 17 favorite album all time,
Wow.
you know? Um this but there's another reason that I think this is an important album, right? Uh it's a quiet album. It's a quiet but noisy album. It's mixed so low
Okay.
that at times it sounds like you're hearing a tortured woman who's trapped in a painting, like a tortured spirit that's trapped in a painting, trying to get out. You know what I mean?
Fascinating.
So that, like, think about that. Think about how weird this mix is. Right now, what's happening is things are being mixed louder and louder and louder.
Yes.
So there's the dynamics are just being drenched out of it.
Right.
And this is so hushed at times that you have to like really try and hear it. And then when you do, sometimes all of a sudden after the whispering is this big load of racket, that comes and all of a sudden it's loud again,
Mhm.
and that's a Pixies thing. Post Pixies, it was quiet, loud, loud, quiet, loud, or whatever. But yeah, it's just so unique, in that sense, and the nature of the album is really unique, you know.
Mhm.
And then you're
Abs-
for 92.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, when did Nirvana come out? When I feel like I'm not because I was young at that time. Were they like 93, 94? Like, I'm not.
The album that takes over the world for them is
Okay.
Nevermind.
Yes.
So that is it's Wikipedia is saying that was released in 91,
91.
a
Okay.
year before this. Yeah.
Okay. So slightly before. So at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time, man.
Mm.
But if you look up the biggest songs of 1992, right?
Okay.
And just do a simple Google, I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston, right? Free Your Mind, En Vogue, you know, Celine Dion. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know, Jump
Fascinating.
Around, Achy Breaky Heart. You
I love
know,
that song.
there was still a lot of cheesy stuff, right? No Rain by Blind Melon. You know, like yeah, The Chronic had dropped and Nirvana just dropped, but a lot of what was on the pop charts was still very CNC Music Factory.
Yeah. The alternative era didn't really kick in until a few years later when alternative similarly
Well,
seemingly
it
took
was
it
that
over.
wave, and it was that time, right? There was that one year, maybe it was 91, where near out of Seattle, like Nirvana goes diamond,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Pearl Jam goes diamond,
Mm-hmm.
and Soundgarden goes like 3, 4 times platinum. And their label comes at Soundgarden like, what do you call you guys are only 2 times platinum, like, dude. Um, but that was a wave that took over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, you get that stuff, and then Nine Inch Nails comes along, and it gets crazy, but it was still transitioning. This was such a little album. She was like, there was an interview I was watching where she was like just surprised that it was important, like
Yeah.
that people took to it. It's this, like I said, she sounds like she's trapped, a ghost trapped in a painting, um, and it's an album about being sexually dissatisfied.
Mm. Fascinating.
That's what dry
Yeah.
means, Keith.
Yeah. There
Dry.
was an element.
Yeah. It's incredible. Happy and Bleeding is one of my
Yeah.
favorite songs ever.
Because that's one of those songs that was so soft. Like the mix, particularly the mix I heard, it was so soft.
Yep.
I had to like turn it up.
Yes. That's what this album is. You got to turn it all the way up to
Yeah.
hear it. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. It's crazy, but it makes you as a listener, you have to chase it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not drenching you. You have to chase. And there's less and less albums like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
It gets cleaner and crisper and more digitized, and there's less there's less quiet albums out there.
Mm.
So yeah, I love that album, and so I don't want to defend because I don't want to be like, ooh, I get really excited over women and releasing albums about being sexually dissatisfied. The thing is, it's it's so vivid in what it's getting across. You
Yeah.
feel the vision of what she's saying. It's
I,
absolute the lyrical opposite of Pharrell's in my mind. Like there's nothing vapid, there's no wasted moments.
it's fascinating. I like that you use the word feel because I think uh, it is definitely a feeling like because for me the lyrics are very minimal. There's
Right?
not like
Right?
if you look at the lyrics and it's funny that you use the word quiet because I use the word I have is spacious. There's a lot of space. Uh, and so and you like you look at some of these songs and there's not really a lot of lyrics. They're very, very like her writing style in this album in particular is very, very simple, lot of space, uh, where you kind of have to fill in what's going on between reading between the lines.
You can really see. We talked about, like, when I was listening to the Pharrell and thinking about Donald Glover, not Danny Glover. Uh, that wouldn't make sense. So the you can really, when we're talking about Bjork, sorry, not PJ Harvey on Dry and what she does, I'm thinking about like Karen O of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
Okay.
I'm a big Yeah
I'm,
Yeah Yeah person, and her songs are not loaded with lyrics either. But the way she says it and
yes.
performs it, it's you absolutely understand the emotional landscape.
Right. It's a gift to me. Like I think of, and you know, Alanis Morissette. Came a few years after this,
Yep,
but
yep,
one of my favorite songs is "You Ought to Know"
yep.
because of the way that you know, like how do I explain this? It's very difficult to communicate sarcasm in a song
Yeah.
because that 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 involves like having under because like if you're just reading the lyrics, you can't really express like this is kind of tongue in cheek. I don't mean what I'm saying on face value, and I
Yeah.
tie that to PJ because I heard a lot of that. Even though her lyrics are very simple, she's able to communicate like a emotional depth to these very simple lyrics that's like really really remarkable when you listen and think about it.
And when you like think about the first song, right?
Is that Dress?
No,
No,
no.
not Dress. Oh My Lover. Yeah, okay.
The first song, the way she says it, right? It like, oh my lover. Like there's a lot of space between these words. It like
Yes.
clomps down at you. Oh my lover. And the sounds are hitting hard and clomping with her.
Hmm.
And so it sets this kind of foreboding, haunted tone.
Yeah.
Even the phrase "oh my lover" is very creepy.
I mean, yeah, I mean you look at her second verse. Give give me your troubles, I'll keep them with mine. Take at your leisure, take whatever you can find, but oh my sweet thing, don't you know it's all right? Like the way that I'm like reading you would think that's like a romantic song, but that's not
But
what
even
is
if you were
communicated by
trying to
listening.
carry that off as a romantic song, people would be like, something's off, something's wrong,
Yeah,
right? Like there's so she's good at building something wrong, right?
yeah.
And fighting it, yelling at it, right? Scratching at it. Like that's what I
Hmm.
love this album because it's vengeful, you know? It's vengeful, it's churlish, it's angry, it kicks and screams. Um,
But it's not an overt anger.
no, no.
It's more of a simmering anger to me, which is that's
See,
what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, it's a seething situation.
Seething, yes.
And so that's what makes I think it's real, but Dress is an amazing song. What an amazing song.
Love
Uh,
that song.
but yeah, it's a real I think that's the way. It's just really it's a really incredible thing, and I think it helps set the standard for how these projects are going to be going forward. You know, in 92 when it drops, everybody doesn't hear it, but all the heads hear it. All the critics love it.
Mm.
And so it puts her on the map. Her next album, Rid of Me, is a much more rockin' ass rock album.
Hmm.
That's the one that like most people think of. And it's fantastic, by the way. It's
Right.
wonderful. But Dries is like nothing else.
Mm.
Like nothing else, bro. Um, and I couldn't help but think of like, you know, somebody like Sade. No, Sade doesn't get called the go. Did she certainly didn't when she was doing her thing. Most she does now because the
Right.
body work, right? But you know, in the 80s, she was Sade. She was so unique.
Right.
No one was sitting there arguing Sade versus Whitney.
I
Hard to
think
top
of
anybody with Sade.
right. That's a good point. Like I think like these for me, PJ, she's like the foundation of a house. Like I can see like a lot of
Yep.
particularly Alanis, like Fiona Apple. You could tell that they had come across this album before, and it kind of influenced their particular style.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's 11 songs.
Yes.
Um, it's 40 minutes even, right? Uh, it's perfect in that sense. There's no fat at all, you know?
No.
There's no hits, but there's no fat. It's absolutely the perfect album you made for yourself that the world fell in love with.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that's good times. So what was give me would you have anything that surprised you that you were like, wow?
For me, what I you were in terms of in terms of songs and lyrics.
Songs, yeah, lyrics, moment.
I mean, I loved Dress.
Mhm.
I really loved Sheila Na Gig.
Sheila McGee, yeah.
Sheila Na Gig.
Yep.
That was my favorite in terms of the style and how it was written. I think that's a brilliant song. And what I particularly love about like because I read the lyric as I was listening to it, I read the lyrics, and to
Smart
me,
man.
like, huh?
Smart man.
Yeah, what I like about it is I like, and I don't know how to explain it, like structurally looking at the lyrics, it's like aesthetically pleasing looking at how she used repetition and how she kind of structured the verses and the chorus. Uh, it's just, I mean, it's just to me, it was just like a relic of an old time. I don't feel like we're getting projects like this in modern era music. Um,
Right.
so I really appreciated it on that level.
It's drained of anything cute,
No.
right? There's nothing cute on it. I think Sheila McGee, the thing about it that I think is so fascinating is the choice of where it lands
Mm,
because it comes right after Happy and Bleeding.
yes.
And so that decision to shock her audience like that, uh, because Sheila McGee is really important song because it's a banger but a thinker also.
Hmm.
So Sheila McGee, you exhibitionist. Like it's really there's a lot to that song where you're like, I want to know what this is. I want to know what this is about, dude. Reading the lyrics is a good thing to do if you listen to Dry. Um, yeah,
Absolutely, and I think it's also getting like the context because for me, like I was able to get some of the context. Like Sheila Nagig, I didn't know if I hadn't read is a carving depicting a naked woman with an exaggerated vulva.
yep,
So that kind of ties. And I love how subtle like how it ties into Happy and Bleeding, and
Yep.
then there's some lyrics about hair that kind of tie into the song after it, and then hair kind of ties into Joe
Yep.
as well.
It
Uh,
it feels like so in the interview I saw, it was really interesting. One of the things she said was people assume my lyrics are personal
mhm.
and they're diaries, and they're not. Some like I'm observing people around me, relationships around me, the world around me. So
Yes.
I'm giving you the world I'm living in. And that Sheila and the Geek story that you said about like the exaggerated vulva sculpture and like talking to that through this song is a perfect example of it. It's like as as an author, she's pulling from her environment and creating a tapestry. And it's
Yeah.
such a damn good tapestry. It feels personal.
Sure. Hmm.
But that's because it's good. And you want it to be personal, right? Like,
Hmm.
but yeah, so that's my deal on that. I think it's yeah. What is it? Which song do you think popped the most having read the lyrics as you were listening to it?
Uh, I love Dress. That's probably the song that stood out to me.
Yep.
Um, I liked Hair
Yep.
a lot. Uh, and then I guess I'll go. I kind of like not. I was not Happy and Bleeding. Fountain. Let me make sure
Fountain.
that that's
Mhm.
yes, Fountain.
And the end is crazy with just water. Water's a crazy song. Uh,
Yes,
yeah.
and like I look at Fountain and it's so minimal. Like stand under fountain, cool skin, wash clean. Like it's like stand under fountain, cool skin, wash clean, wash him from me.
Yep.
Like the lyrics are so simple, but there's a depth to it that she's able to communicate very well.
Yep. Yep. No, that's absolutely dead on. It's yeah. So you were happy that you heard it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for me, I think I think modern hip hop artists should take a look. I think there's a lot that they could learn. Any writer of any, I shouldn't just say hip hop, any writer of any genre. There's a lot that they could learn from this album.
Yeah. It really dry really is the journey to be as distinct as possible,
Mm,
right? It's doing the best you can to become distinct. So in a way, she was on the same journey Kyle was on making Ironworks, you know?
yeah,
Like it's yeah. So it's really beautiful. I know a lot of people who are in the rap world and you know and go into PJ Harvey binges. Um, it's good to feed your brain that kind of shit, man.
for
Uh,
sure.
let me go ahead. We'll do recommendation corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the fun thing. So let me start with the PJ Harvey
Okay.
because this album, like you said, Dry was, you know, it's quiet, but it's a racket. It's vicious at times, emotional. The She got older. 8 years later, she made an album that is kind of its opposite. That is a good deal more popular. Uh,
Okay.
called Stories from the City, comma Stories from the Sea.
Stories from the city. Okay. And
Stories from the Sea.
2000.
Stories from the Sea. It's 12 songs. Um, two of them feature Tom York from Radiohead, and they're really good.
Wow. Okay.
It's a really good album. I really like that album. It's just different in the sense that it's a lot more it's clean, it's older. It's like that phase of your life. Like if you look at the cover, look up the cover,
Yeah,
she's
it looks like she's in New York, right?
right. She's in New York and you know, she's looking good. She's put together. She's a grown up now and she wants to enjoy her life, right? And that is what this album is. So once you've absorbed Dry and you love Dry, Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea is the bookend of that journey.
Fascinating. Okay.
So it's an interesting thing, and it's interesting to hear her grown up like that. It was really dope. So different phases of life. You know, you PJ Harvey's great with that shit. Let England Shake was a later one in the 2010s. It was bananas. Um, anyway, uh, the one that I've been fucking with, dude, there's a lot of crazy shit. Um, oh, okay. First, and you're gonna this one's pretty awesome. Been recommended to everybody. Owls, Omens, and Oracles
Okay. Owls, omens, and oracles.
by Valerie June.
Okay.
It is beautiful. It is 14 songs produced by M. Ward. And it's a little country, it's a little blues, it's a little R&B mixed in with very powerful voice and perspective. Um, there's just a lot of joy and heart in it. I listen to it a lot, man. In the mornings, Kay, I need a little bit of joy. You know what I mean? And a little bit of uh, you know. So that's that one. My third, I'm gonna go. So we had an incredible talk. You were not there,
Mhm.
but Brian Ennals and Infinity Knives.
Yes.
We talked about a gentleman who's been on their projects, who is apparently a really important figure in Baltimore hip hop, named Easy Jackson. Easy E. Easy E Jackson.
Okay. Easy E Jackson.
Yep. That's the spelling. It is not easy as in E. It's E, the letter E, the letter Z, letter E. And he has an album called Fool.
Food.
Nope,
Food.
nope, Fool.
Fool. Okay.
Yep. And that's from 2019. And it's really fucking cool, man. It's really fucking cool. Reminded me a little bit of Jadena in moments, like where there was just real interesting swings and singing versus rapping, different kinds of production. It's a really dope album. I've been dipping into it, man. It's great.
Okay.
So I've been doing that. Um, yeah, yeah, man. I got a bunch of books to read. Thanks to Dash Lewis, gave me recommendations. Put them on my wish list. Got it for my birthday. I got to read that stuff. I finished the Umbrella Academy books.
Okay. What's Umbrella Academy?
Oh, it's a graphic novel series by Gerard Way. Uh,
Do they have a TV series about that? Okay.
Netflix made it into a TV series. I not a Gerard Way guy, really, naturally. So I didn't read the books first. My wife made me watch the Netflix show.
Hmm.
By season two, I begrudgingly admitted that I was into it. It's finished, series finale. I really enjoyed it. So I put the books on my wish list. So let me check out the books. They're awesome. They're awesome, and they're a lot. They're different in a lot of important ways. But it's kind of the best case scenario where I ended up respecting both visions.
Mm.
I'm hoping my wife will check the books out, but she doesn't do a lot of graphic novels. So
Mm. Okay.
yeah, what have you been rocking with?
Nothing new right now. I just I mean, I went last week. I went to Arizona. It's funny. I went to Arizona and I was in the Goodwill store,
Oh
and
wow.
I found yeah, I found a so I found Missy Elliott's Superfly
Oh man.
um, on one of the racks. So I just picked that
Yeah.
up.
Yep.
That's another album. Like I've heard it before, but that's another album that's kind of like a relic of an older of another era to
We
me.
talked we talked about it, right? On the
Yeah.
Time Machine shows. I'm so glad we did. Yeah, that album is definitely a bridge, you know?
Hmm.
Like we talk there's like breaking points in music, right? Dry represents a breaking point where we're not going to be cute anymore, right?
Hmm.
Um Super Duper Fly represents a breaking point where she's not always going to make sense and
Mm.
it's going to be fine. Sometimes she's going to make up words, but within the context of what she's saying, you'll know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
She's not going to obey the borders of the page anymore.
Right.
So, and her doing that and Wayne doing that, because Wayne was very influenced by her.
For sure.
He's always said that. Wayne doing that, her doing that, created this new generation, right? You don't
Absolutely.
get Isaiah Rashad without that. You don't get these people without that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's a great point. Yeah, yeah. You've been watching anything?
Right. Just Righteous Gemstones right now. Th-
Yeah,
That's finishing up, but this has been a really solid season.
solid man,
Yeah.
solid stuff. So, oh, the love, man, the love is rolling in for the Sleeping Dogs episode. People are
Mm.
really into it. People are really into the Prem Rock episode.
Great. Yeah.
Really good to hear positive feedback from people. Um, it's a tricky balance, man. Like sometimes I think about it, I'm like, I don't want to talk to all legends.
Mm.
That wouldn't make me happy. That sounds insane to say. What I want is a mix. I want legends. I want up and comers, right? I want people I've talked to before. The criteria is just you make dope shit, so you're here,
Absolutely.
right? But I want a mix, and that mix allows me to book Sleeping Dogs based on their first album when they weren't very well known.
Yeah.
And then to talk to them, as they're making their way onto the NPR playlist,
Absolutely. We're along the journey. We're going along on the journey with them.
We're very lucky for that, man.
Absolutely.
Very lucky. So, yeah, thank you for everybody who's following us on the journey. And by the way, that's why you should dig into the archives and check the old shit out because we nailed why some of these people were great years ago. Somebody hit me with that.
Oh, sure.
It was like somebody was listening to The Importance of AJ Suede from years ago and was like, man, you guys nailed, what was important about Suede, like you back then.
Wow.
You know, uh, go back into the vault, man. We've been doing it. We only know one way. 5 stars.
Absolutely.
What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow